She also talked about what everyone knows, and that this is the 5th Austin East student that's been killed in less than 4 months. And she talked about the hurting that this community is going through right now. We also heard from Knoxville's first community safety director, LaKenya Middlebrook. She says any loss of life in this city is disheartening. She took some time away from her preparations, just mere hours from swimming, to tell her story, one of triumph, and as of tomorrow, her dream realized. That urge was correct. In their study, 10% of children had high ACE scores, that number being essentially the same for adults at 12%. As you can see here, the water is starting to recede. We know that because just hours ago, those vehicles right here were completely submerged. Yes, Robin and John, a tense morning here as students weren't sure what was going on. Parents rushing to get to their kids, but the message tonight is it was all a hoax. If you follow me, you can see the bridge is split in half all the way down the middle. This is the ladder they used to get to the other side. So we hope you tune in to watch me and Katie Inman tonight on Night Beat. From the Sky Bridge in Gatlinburg, back to you. If there was one thing you could say to the 17-year-old that did this, what would you say?
Shame on you, you took my son.
June 28th, the day she was officially reported missing. Today, July 30th, her family sat down with detectives. So as they told me, their work is just getting started. Live in East Knoxville, Malik Jackson. Three neighbors whose front doors are just mere feet away from the ball are speaking out after a shooting death in the wee hours of the morning. So scared of retaliation, they wouldn't put their faces on camera.
I heard the gunshots, and it was bam, 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 bam. And then you heard all the screaming.
According to KPD, one man was shot and killed in the parking lot, making him the 25th death in the city of Knoxville in less than 28 weeks. They say this isn't an isolated situation.
Gunfire is most every weekend, but the incident this morning was the most extreme case we've had.
Video we obtained shows those big crowds directly adjacent to these neighborhoods. The noise being a problem, but the violence terrifying these neighbors.
My concern is that innocent people are going to get hurt. To be here and see what's going on, I am fearful.
We reached out to the ball. In a statement, owner John Nichols says, "I share the concerns of the community in looking for real solutions to the problems of violence in the community and look forward to meeting with the local homeowners association, city council members, and Knoxville Police Department. But these neighbors just want something done before somebody else dies."
If this was dealt with sooner, the person may not have lost their life. I'm worried about bullets flying. There's kids that play around here.
In Knoxville, Malik Jackson.
Someone is locked inside themselves and they cannot communicate in any way, and they come out of a coma.
After suffering a brain aneurysm, life for a Marine changed forever. 9 years later, he's awake, but he can't communicate, and he has no family to advocate for him. He's locked inside of his own body, and his caretakers are stepping up to be his voice. Reporter Malik Jackson shares his journey to free himself.
Any day where I'm in a bad mood and I walk in the room, this is the smile I get, and he's just so happy to see me.
Jacob Kreisman, a former Marine who was active, social, a big Georgia Bulldog fan, and living life to the fullest until 2012 when everything changed.
He had a brain aneurysm back 9 years ago, and that caused the situation we have now where he cannot move.
Spending 8 years in a coma before waking up trapped inside of his own body.
And someone is locked inside themselves and they cannot communicate in any way.
Locked-in syndrome. He's awake, he's aware, but can't move anything on his body except his eyes. His caretakers forced to flip cards from A to Z just to have a conversation.
Originally, we would go through the whole alphabet, and he would move his lip for the right letter, and then we would go to the next letter. So in 40 minutes, we would probably get a paragraph.
That's when his respiratory therapist, Trisha Limpus, first stepped in, creating his own eye gaze board.
And this speeds it up. This speeds it up probably 80%. D, IJKL. L.
Both of Jacob's parents are severely ill, leaving no one to speak for him, until Limpus took it upon herself to fill that void and be his voice.
It's critical. It's just critical because someone has to. He can't do it himself.
Now she fights alongside of Jacob in hopes of getting him the technology he desperately needs.
It would just open up a whole new world for him to where he can express his thoughts and be a little more in control of his life.
The device, the eye gaze edge, a computer able to formulate his thoughts by following his eyes.
Be life-changing for him to be able to have some control in his life, because right now he has no control.
As his favorite song, I Can Only Imagine, plays on repeat, he can only imagine the day he can be free. In Etowah, Malik Jackson.
The community is in shock about what happened. It was a terrible tragedy.
Superintendent Gary Lilly knows his people are devastated.
It is difficult to come to terms with just because it is so unexpected, and the shock of what has happened.
That one's $16.99.
Feeling no different for lifelong resident Benita Reed.
Go to the grocery store and you see people you know and you've lived here, and the people that work there are people that you speak to when you walk in.
A connection because they're not just people, they're neighbors, friends, a scar that will last forever.
It changes things. It changes the way you think, and it changes the way you feel that day. And moving forward, I'm sure just walking into the supermarket.
But a scar that won't define this community, instead one that will inspire and strengthen an already tight bond.
And we're going to get through this. It's a terrible tragedy, but we're all supporting each other, and we're going to get through this.
Even though the loss cuts deep, one of the victims, Olivia King, a retired employee of Culver Schools.
It was heartbreaking. Our condolences go out to her family, and our thoughts and prayers are with them.
But in the face of defeat, this community says they will be victorious.
This is a resilient town, and no doubt this town will certainly pull together during this time. And I don't think that there isn't a dragon out there that will back down.